if you don't want to tell me the story because you've already told 5 other therapists and nobody's been able to help you and you're sick of telling the story, then don't tell me the story. Like, give me a little context, and then we're going to track what's going on in your body, and I'm going to tell you how to release it. And we're going to work with you to do that. Let's understand where it's trapped and held in the body. Let's begin to understand how to discharge it, what the impulse of protection was, and let's understand it from a body perspective, in addition to the story if you want to tell it. But we don't have to do that.
Welcome to the Rock Bottom Podcast, presented by Jigsaw Health, where we share health horror stories that inspire. Today's guest found comfort and purpose in horses when her home life felt unsafe. Now she's an equine trauma therapist, helping others heal through the same powerful connection that saved her.
Before we dive in, just a quick note. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for medical advice. Always consult with a healthcare professional before making any changes to your health routine. Right, Teddy?
So let's get into it. This is the Rock Bottom Podcast.
Let's go.
Hi, Terra. We are so excited to have you today. We actually just want to do a quick little spoiler alert to the audience that this episode is going to be on equine therapy, which I am so excited to learn more about. But first, let's dive in.
And there's probably going to be some dogs involved in some of the scenes
we have
right now.
puppy therapy because we couldn't fit a horse in here.
Monk
That's
and-
the
yeah.
only reason.
Monk and Lola, I think, are going to stay on the couch, but Teddy is a wanderer. He's on the floor right now. Yeah. We'll see if he jumps into any laps.
Stay tuned for that. But yeah, first we just want to go way back and let's talk about your rock bottom moment.
There's been so many.
Which was your favorite?
Oh, yeah. Which did I learn the most from, right? I would say it was, well, there was a pivotal moment in which we started at the university and they canceled the program in 2008. And so that was really kind of a come to Jesus moment with myself. The whole country is in a bit of a recession.
Yeah.
There's a new president at the university. He was canceling all
Which
programs.
university?
ASU.
Okay. Arizona State University. Yep. So you were about to launch the equine therapy program?
We had been there for 10 years.
Oh.
And the president came in and said, what are we doing with this equine program? We were switching colleges at the time within the university. And so they just gave us, they just canceled us and with like a 2-month notice of like, you have to get rid of these horses, all of the offices, everything.
How many horses did you have at the
We
time?
had 25 horses at the time.
And they said get rid of them.
Yep. Wow. And so, it had taken, I had come in and at the very inception of the program, they had concluded some research and then they were going to launch it out into the community. And so I'd been with the program for 10 years at the time. And it was really this, what am I going to do? And also, can I do that all over again? Because when you're building an organization, a business, a nonprofit, it doesn't matter. Like you're putting your whole soul, your whole spirit, like everything is going into it to build this program. And so I had to just really dive deep and say, like, is this the point where I just go out and work in corporate America and like I'm tired and I find homes for all these horses? Or is this truly what my soul's calling is? And so, after spending some time in the mountains with the horses, that's where they were at the time. We were doing kids camps at the time. And I just said, there's nothing else I really want to do. Like, this is my heart. And I've always made a promise to kids to give them the opportunity to feel the healing of horses like they had given to me. And so I said, okay, this is what I have to do. And came back and said, okay, I'm going to take over this program and take it out into the community as its own nonprofit. And, but I was scared to death, scared to death because being under the university, we had office space, we had insurance. Like, I didn't know how to set up a telephone line. I didn't know how to set up a business. I didn't know how to do anything because all of it had been taken care of by the university.
What year was this?
This was 2008, September 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had to learn how to do all of that from scratch, but
Yes.
a big undertaking.
Yes, huge. Worked out of the garage for quite some time. Yeah.
As all great businesses
Yep,
start,
exactly.
right? Out of the garage.
Out of the garage, everything, 10 years of files and books and finding homes. I pared it down to 5 horses out of 25. Had to find, that's when we moved to Scottsdale because that's where I was living at the time, and was tired of driving up and down the 101 and going to the university. And so, I truly worked out of the garage and was down to 1 employee, me.
Yeah.
And just started to rebuild.
Well, I want to get more into what you're doing now with the company, the nonprofit, but I would love to also go back to when I first talked to you, you had said to me, horses truly saved my life. And I'm really interested to hear that story and how that happened that led you to your passion for what you're doing now.
Yeah. I think, since I've been a little girl, I didn't have horses until I was 10, but there was definitely something inside of my spirit that loved them. From the moment I can remember anything, I could remember smelling them. I could remember sitting in a car and going to my grandma's house and seeing in the country roads of Illinois, seeing people riding their horses on the side of the road and just having this impulse to jump out. And I just had to be close to them. My grandmother and great aunt lived next to a farm. And so I would sneak out of the house at 3 years old and run down just to see Tony and Sugar. That's what was their name. And I
3 years old?
Yeah.
Wow, that's got to be some sort of record, sneaking out at 3.
I just I couldn't. I was a pretty independent kid, but you couldn't keep me away from them. They were magnets to me. And so as I got older, we ended up getting $100 pony. Literally $100 pony. And we tied him up to a weight in our yard, total. I mean, it's as hillbilly as it gets. That is a true story. We had a 50-pound block and we tied him up to a chain on this fence. I don't know what we were thinking. I don't know how he didn't die.
Oh my God.
I had to build all of his fences. But there was a man that lived down the road from our farm, and his name was Carl Becker. And so I had this horse, Smokey, and he had all these horses, and he would let all the neighbor kids come to his farm, and he would let us pick a horse, and his wife Ruth would feed us lemonade, and we basically lived there. It was about 2 miles as a crow flies from our little farm in Illinois. And so when I say that horses saved my life, I would say that just how tumultuous my house was. It was very verbally loud and with some, physical stuff going on. And it was unsafe for me. And so I would often sleep with Smokey, my $100 pony, out in the chicken coop. If I ever felt unsafe, I could get on Smokey and run to Carl and Ruth Becker's house, where I would find other kids that would probably lived in very similar situations as I was living in. And we just became this family. And it was this space where now knowing, as a trauma therapist, as a somatics person, I understand I was really building resourcing inside of my own system. So even if I didn't get on my horse and run away, I could imagine that if things got too bad in my house, I could climb over the roof, go get on Smokey. And I don't know why in my image channel, I always jumped over the fence. I could have just walked through a gate, but I jumped over the fence and would run down the fields to Carl Becker's house. And so for me, that access to that one horse and Carl Becker's really, Carl Becker's was the beacon of safety and family and security. And because I felt such a strong draw to horses, that's where I wanted to spend my time. I was willing to work very hard for it. So I would detassel corn and walk beans and build my own fences. I learned how to put up an arena and put up my own fence and do wiring. And, I would be out there in the snow, anything. I was doing anything to be with Smokey. And then I worked really hard to buy another horse, and I just would keep buying horses. And so there was this this work ethic that came like out of sheer love and also sheer necessity, because I didn't have parents that could buy me a fancy horse and a barn. But I think that has traveled with me across my whole life, like this sense of purpose. I'll work as hard as I can. There's this sense of they took care of me as a young kid. So even now at Hunkapi, I'm going to work as hard as I can to make sure these horses have the best life, because for me, they're helping all the people that we serve at the farm actually, heal. And so if I need to give them the best life, because I know what they're giving to each soul that comes onto our farm. And then also just this really strong sense of an emotional outlet. Like as a kid, I would just get on Smokey and just cry and cry and cry and scream and could run down the field and just like have this release of emotion. I understood how to, over time, I became pretty handy with the horses. And so I could train them. They taught me about emotions. They taught me about how what was happening inside of me was affecting this relationship with them. And if I wanted them to allow me to ride them, like I had to change things inside of me.
Wow.
They took this hardened, I was pretty tough, like really pretty hardened and like a very angry. And so they taught me to soften, to have emotions, to be able to talk through something, to come to an agreement and not like have to have like it's my way or the highway, or I'm going to beat you until you do this. So for me, there was just an honoring of that relationship. And so really teaching all these things that I think people come into our farm for, and leaders and as humans, like we forget about our own emotional intelligence and how our own body is giving us so much information about the people that are sitting in front of us, and if they feel safe or unsafe, and if we should move forward with that business agreement or not move forward, or how do we work and flow. Like horses taught me all of that growing up. Wow. So they saved me because they gave me an outlet to get out of my house. They gave me a purpose to focus all of my education on, a drive to ensure that I never ended up like my family, to create a different life for myself, and also hope that something could be different for me. And I think those three things combined are priceless when it comes to somebody that really could have gone a totally different direction as a young person. So for me, I wouldn't be sitting here in Scottsdale, Arizona, if I didn't have that love and that anchor to what I feel is truly my own spirit, my own soul.
Wow, that's an incredible story. I'm really curious, and I don't know if you can put words to it exactly, but how do you feel that the horses are able to help a human regulate emotions?
Well, scientifically, if you want to just go off of a somatic, approach, if you will, I think the horses are a herd animal, and so they're a prey animal. They're not a predator, like a dog is a predator. So I feel that dogs are very healing to humans. I feel like horses are also very healing to humans, but they come at it from a very prey perspective, not a predator perspective. Their systems are very attuned, and they're wired to be able to sense threat and danger from over 40 feet away. So when you think about that, and you think about some of the humans we engage with day in and day out, right? And they're able to pick up on, like, does that person feel safe? From 40 feet away, they can feel that. And they're ready and already employing their own system to say, I need to flight from this person, I need to fight from this person, or I'm going to freeze, or they feel safe enough for me to approach. So that sheer fact of truth with the horses, like you can watch and track them do that, and we teach that. It really, if you're in the arena with a 1,000 to 2,000 pound animal and they're responding to you that way, you're pretty quick to get aware of where your own system is, what it's saying, where your toes are, what your body language is doing, and if for nothing else than survival, right? So you might want to build the relationship with the horse, or you might be really anxious about it, but like they're going to get you because they're so big. They're not gonna approach you if you don't feel good. They're not like my poodle puppy that will just jump on anybody, right? So if you're having an experience like that, it's a big enough creature that all of a sudden you feel very small. And so it brings this conviction that you better start paying attention to what's actually happening inside of you, because they're big enough to feel intimidating. Right?
So it basically puts you in tune with your inner instincts.
Yeah.
Whereas we're walking through life normally, like most people are walking through life most of the time, kind of unconscious of that.
Exactly.
We're just only paying attention to the distractions that we face in every moment, every day.
Yeah.
So, that's super
We pay
interesting.
attention to, we're either aloof, or we assume everything is safe, or we're stuck in the distractions, or we're stuck in like only the big things, like the super stressors, right? Like that gets our attention. We understand when we're super stressed.
Yeah.
But horses, if you're walking next to a horse, there is no other option, unless you want your toes stepped on, than to be hyper aware and mindful of the micro changes.
So you're like really present.
100% present.
Yeah.
100% present.
You a few minutes ago said something, a phrase I'd never heard before. I think what he said was, "I was building resourcing." Mm-hmm. What did you mean by that phrase?
One of the things that we work on at the farm from a somatic perspective, which the soma is the body, and we believe that the body keeps all the memories of your life, and its sole job is to keep you alive. And sometimes that means building maladaptive behaviors in order to stay alive when you were a little kid that you continue to use when you're an adult, because it's a pattern. It worked when you were little, you continue using it. Like myself, I'm not going to trust any adult. Why would I trust an adult? And so, moving into an age where I'm trying to date, or I'm trying to build a business, or I'm trying to hire employees, or I'm bringing a board around me. If I don't trust adults, but I don't understand where that came from, right? And, as you build a business, like at some point it gets too big for you to manage everything. Like you have to lean in and trust other people, or you're just going to be screaming, right? So when I say resourcing, we want to go back and begin to understand how we made it here. Like, how did I make it here? Not like, oh, I'm just super resilient and I made it here, or, oh, all the luck fell and I'm here, but like, how was I doing that? How did my body cope with the threat that was my home to create a sense of safety and well-being inside of myself, or resourcing, or ability to think like, I'm going to make it through this? And so people begin to, and usually it starts in childhood. Yeah. So people begin to use what we call on, we find the way that we did it. Like I found a resource of laying in bed, feeling terrified. How am I going to make it out of here? And I would start to imagine, like, okay, I hear the screaming downstairs. I hear the crashing downstairs. Okay, there's my window. I'm going to climb out the window. I'm going to go over the roof. I'm going to go get Smokey, and I'm going to jump over the fence. I'm going to run to Carl Becker's. So resourcing to me was using my imagination to be able to find a way out. Like if I started hearing creaking coming up the stairs, I'm jumping out the window, I'm going over the roof. I had a whole plan inside of my head, right? So for me, an escape plan. Yeah. So that is what the body actually begins to do. Hopefully it begins to do. Like, or some people might just say, I hid behind the couch. And so they might move into a freeze response. Well, it's still resourcing. Mm-hmm. So we want to find, like, if we don't want to get stuck in the trauma, how do we actually say, how did you make it through? Look at how creative you were. Look at how resourced you were. How could you use this in this adult situation to actually, like, you already started doing that when you were 3, 4, 5 years old. So how can you use that same resourcing that you used as a child to help to make it through this difficult situation too? And also, when we figure out how we resourced as a kid, then we can also say, like, whoa, okay, that's showing up today, and I probably shouldn't do that anymore because that's coming across in my communication to my husband, right? Or like, so,
right.
okay, 3-year-old Tara's talking to your adult husband now. That's not going to work out so well. But we can have a lot of compassion and like, wow, like, look at what I did as a little kid. That's so cool. So resourcing is, what did I do?
Yeah.
What resource did I use inside of me to make it through that situation?
Yeah.
And we want to stay really connected to that because that is the part of the body, the nervous system, that always fights for you to stay alive. Even if you think like you've had the crappiest life, something inside of us fought to stay alive. And we need to find that thing.
So how do horses help you find that?
Me personally?
Or like in your therapy.
Yeah, in your therapy.
So I had a horse that we rescued. I'm going to give an example. Okay. So we had a horse that we rescued from a kill pen, came in with a lot of scars, a lot of sickness. And we were nursing her back to health. And I had a group of teen girls at the time. Very special group to me. I love working with teen girls. I just love, especially those coming from significant abuse, neglect, sometimes living in foster homes and things like that, or group homes. Because I think that there's obviously some sort of resourcing in them that they're alive for some reason. And we went out to halter a horse, and her name was Adira. And what came up as these 2 girls were haltering Adira is that every time they would touch her face, she would back up. And so they went into a thought pattern of, she doesn't like me, she doesn't want me to do this. And that immediately trickled into, I don't want to hurt her and I can't do this. So we want to see the behavioral pattern that's associated with the thought pattern, right? So I actually asked them to step back and start looking at her face and to look at the scars that were on her face and the sickness that was filling her jaw up and some other things that were going on. And I said, if you had that on your face, what do you think? Do you think you have trust, or you think you don't have trust? And they said she wouldn't have trust. Somebody's hurt her. And I said, somebody has hurt her. So if you come up with your halter and you begin to shove it on her face, like, what do you think her reaction's going to be if somebody has hurt her in her past? And we got to process that whole experience of, like, maybe it's not that she doesn't like me or she doesn't want me here or I can't do this, but maybe it's because of her past that's causing this, her own behavioral pattern, that now that pattern is affecting me. And they had had similar experiences. I don't trust adults either. I've been hurt. Like, I don't want anybody to come close to me. And I said, look, so you're working basically with yourself right now.
Wow.
Right? And so we changed, and they came up with a way to change and modify the way to put the halter on that would be more conducive to what Adira needed in order to not move into this backwards flight response away from them. And one of the girls, she was 17, had scars all over her arms, tons of pain, tons of hurt. And she came to me and she said, this horse gives me hope that if she can heal in such a short amount of time, that I can heal too.
Wow, chill bumps on that.
Yeah. As a therapist, you couldn't process that fast. Like, it's something that came around in 10, 15 minutes for this girl. And so when she began to resource, like, and find, like, okay, that's a hurt point in me. That's a barrier and a fear that comes in for me, and I automatically assume that this horse doesn't want me close to them, and so I'm just going to retreat from that. But if we can begin to understand that that was the way she had to do that as a kid, right? Like, because adult after adult after adult had hurt her. But if we can begin to understand, like, that's something that happened when you were 4 years old, now we're in the present, and now you actually want to create a relationship with this horse, and this horse doesn't not want to create a relationship. She's asking, like, can I trust you? And can you change your own patterning, your own former resourcing in this moment so that this horse can also have a chance to reframe and rebuild a new connection and a new neural pathway? Then can we do that together?
So the horse is healing us at the same time as the
Yes.
human. Wow.
Yeah.
Are most of your horses come from a background of abuse and like neglect, and is that what you mostly have on the
More
farm?
and more are, just because the healing that comes both ways is so profound. But I would say about 50% of our herd is former performance horses that came from the lap of luxury, but also had, have their own individual traumas, but have not been starved or beaten, things like that. And then about 50% are now coming in from kill pens where there's been significant abuse.
How many horses do you have now?
I think we have about 33. I've lost track because we added 5, we lost 5.
Yeah.
We have an older herd, so I think we have about 33.
Did you have a question?
You mentioned also when you were talking about building resourcing, you talked about using my image channel. That's a phrase I haven't heard before.
Yes. So people, in somatics, we believe that people create resourcing, or we can deactivate where trauma is held in the body through multiple different channels. Some people use a kinesthetic channel. So as a somatics person, I'm going to be watching body language, patterns of body language. We might begin to notice like somebody's shoulder twitches or their leg starts tapping. And so we can discharge trauma through either an image channel, like, can you tell me in that moment, like, what would you have wanted to do to protect yourself? Like, if you could have protected yourself, what would you have done? This is really impactful with children, also with adults that have a very strong image channel. So like you might say, what animal would you have turned into if you could have, like if you have a parent-child abusive situation, and obviously there's a power differential. And so that feeling of lack of protection can really cause quite a lot of damage and hurt.
What do most people say when given the opportunity to turn in, if you could have turned into a different an animal? What do most people say?
Well, most say a bear or a lion. Like little kids will say that, a bear or a lion. There's something about the image of a big bear protecting them, or a lion. One child, this is hilarious. We have a giant cow, the love of my life, on our property.
I've seen this cow. This cow is giant.
Flagstaff?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So
that is a
Gilbert.
It's like 2 times the size of a normal cow, right?
For sure, yeah. And the kids love him, and he loves the kids.
His name's Gilbert, right?
His name's Gilbert. One kid said, I would put Gilbert in front of him and I would make him turn around and spray poop all over. So that was like this child's way of feeling protected, like by the bigness of the cow, but also the cow protecting him by spraying poop all over this perpetrator that, we were activating the image channel. And we always say, like, whatever comes out in your image channel doesn't matter. Like, let it be as creative as you need to. Like, whatever comes out is your imagination. It's your image channel. And so nothing you'll say will disturb us. Like, just get it out. So what we want to do is actually allow them to go back into that situation where something happened too fast, too soon, was not nurturing, felt threatening. And if they weren't able to protect themselves in that moment, which is where the point of trauma is, where you can't protect yourself. And so what would have made you feel protected in that moment? And I mean, kids and adults come up with the most incredible things. I mean, children are extremely inventive. One person said, I would put you in a pen with kanunu and tape carrots all over you, so like this horse would just bite at
Tape carrots.
Yes, like that was their way of like you're not making me feel good by saying this right now, and I would put you in a pen with kanunu, who is a little bit of a biter, and tape carrots all over you. So like, I mean, whatever you need to do to feel like you can protect yourself, it actually will begin to discharge the energy of that trauma. And what we want to do is bring that trauma to completion, because when trauma gets trapped in the body, then the body hasn't been allowed to fully protect itself. And we say that trauma is incomplete.
Yeah, talk more about that, bringing trauma to completion.
So in somatics, we say that anything that isn't nurturing is trauma.
Okay.
And the body.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you say that, it's different than the DSM diagnosis of trauma, where you have to either think or have experienced near death, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to think you're going to die, or there had to have been a near death experience.
Sort of big T trauma versus little T trauma.
Yes. Yeah.
But if it's not nurturing, it's traumatic.
Yes, because
That's
your
black
body.
or white, essentially. That's
Exactly. So if
Yeah.
if you're in a situation and you perceive trauma, the body naturally moves into a flight, fight, freeze response automatically. Like you don't have to think about it; it just does. If it feels non-threatening, you're in a love response, which there is openness in the body, right? Like all the blood is flowing to the organs. There's blood is moving throughout the whole system. As soon as you move into a flight, fight, freeze response, a flight or fight, blood rushes to the limbs in order to mobilize the being. Or to defend itself. Blood mobilizes to the jaw. It mobilizes to the feet to be able to run, or the fists. If you're in a freeze response, all the blood is removed out of the limbs and moves to the vital organs to just keep them alive. But you have like a glaze over the eyes, or there's a really flat affect. And so, what was your question, by the way?
I was talking about trauma and
Like how you bring it to completion.
How you
right,
bring it
exactly.
to completion.
Yeah.
So,
Good save, Ash.
so thank you. Animals are very, very, very good at discharging trauma. So the event happens, and then after the threat is over, the animal discharges pretty naturally the traumatic response. You might see them yawning, you might see them shaking, you might see them resting, or they just act on the response, like they can flight right away, or they can fight. Humans can override that sometimes and really trap trauma in animals' bodies, but for the most part, animals are very good at releasing the flight fight response and discharging the energy of a threat right away. Humans have this high functioning brain that says, that's my dad, he wouldn't hurt me. Doesn't make any sense that my dad would hurt me. Or I can't run away out of this speech, or I can't run away out of this meeting because that's not socially acceptable for me to do this. And this is why we see a lot of legs tapping. Flight response, trapped. They can't run, right? So they just sit at desks and let their legs tap, okay? Or they had a ton of coffee that day. I don't know. But like when I first met my husband, I was like, what is going on with your leg? Like, why is it tapping like that all the time?
I know someone like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I'm glad we came back to the leg tapping. Let's go down that for a little bit.
Okay.
So, yes, I actually in the last year, as I've gotten more really started a meditation practice, I'm not tapping my leg near as much. But
Amazing.
What did it mean when I was tapping my leg 24/7?
So if I was working with you, I would just bring awareness to the leg, and I would ask, like, where does that start? Does it start in the hip, the knee, the foot, like the thigh? Like, there's usually a starting point of the tapping. I would identify the situation. Like, can you just begin to find a pattern of this? Does it happen more in this situation? Can you begin to track that? Or it might be like take you into your image channel and see like, or a lot of times I'll ask things like, when's the first time you remember tapping your leg? And so what I think it means is that there is whatever situation is happening right now, or the situation in your head. It could be that this situation is fine, but you're thinking about the thing you have to do next, and that actually doesn't feel good. And so we need to track like what the tapping is connected to. And so what I perceive it meaning is that there is something that's happening that's causing a flight response. Like you'd prefer not to be here, or you'd prefer not to be there, wherever you are in your head. Okay. And so if somebody is like if I'm working a group and somebody's tapping their leg, I might just draw attention to their leg and say like, I honor that your leg is tapping, and can you talk to me about that? Or would it help you if you just moved 5 feet outside of this circle? And I'll just have them experiment and move their chair 5 feet out of the circle. And all of a sudden, having to be that close to that many people with the possibility of me calling on them and them talking, like maybe talking in public is the thing that they want to flight away from that. Right? Yeah. So can you just create a little distance, and then they'll be like, oh my gosh, my leg just stopped tapping. So they understand that it's situational. The leg is tapping for a reason, to actually flight and try to take care of them or remove them from that perceived threat. And can we just have a little compassion for the leg, or compassion for the heart that doesn't want to be there, and the fear that's in there? And so that's what I make of it.
I mean, it's so fascinating. It's just another indication of like what we are learning so much about, Patrick and I specifically, but that how the body is constantly communicating. Constantly.
Always.
So when someone comes in to see you to say, they're like, all right, I heard you guys are amazing equine therapy. I know nothing about it, but like I've got this whole traumatic thing that happened and I'm just looking for healing. Can you tell us a little bit about like how the therapy session goes, or is it always completely different based on the person?
It's going to be different based on the person and what they're presenting in the session. But I can give you, there would be a fundamental flow that we would follow, and we would build upon it or customize it in the moment based on, because we're all working off of our own intuition as well. We're, an active participant in the therapy session along with the horse. So one of the things that we always want to ground in right away integrate right away with every client that comes onto our farm is let's go back to that sense of safety. If you ask people, like, how do you know when you feel safe? Almost no one can answer it. And so we might have them walk the farm and then begin to notice which horse they feel the most drawn to. And then we're going to ask them questions, what draws you to that horse? Is it the color, the stature? And that's where we'd start customizing a little bit, because everybody's drawn to different horses, like the way that he looked at me, the way that he walked to me, his color, his size. My grandma had a horse that was that color. We don't know what's going to come up in that moment, but it's going to give us a ton of information about how is that person going to work in their image channel? Is that person going to work from a meaning channel? Meaning, like, my grandma had a horse and it reminds me of my grandma. Or the chickens remind me of my uncle's farm. Or the black horse, it's so big and it's like this giant problem that I have in my life and I just want to tackle it. We don't know what's going to come in.
You don't recommend tackling horses, I imagine?
No, exactly.
Okay,
tackle with a hug for sure.
Okay, good.
Definitely different personalities coming in are attracted to different horses, it makes it so great that we have 30 plus horses, because they all can relate to one of them. And so then we have them they pick that horse. So now we're starting to identify, like, how are you making relationships in your life? What's drawing you? How are you maneuvering your life? Like, just that exercise alone gives us so much information on who they're drawn to, why they're drawn to it, why they're in the career they're in, what are the problems in their life, and how they're following their own intuition.
Interesting. So basically, you start the tour of the farm as your fact-finding mission. You're just taking notes on what they're noticing, what they're drawn to. You have obviously questions that you ask along the way, and that's how they kind of reveal themselves to you so that you know where to go with it.
Yeah. And they are an active participant, and I'm being very explicit about those questions. So tell me how that might also show up in your life. And they're like, oh my gosh, it just happened yesterday when I was at the grocery store with my daughter. Like, I just said that to my daughter. And like, they're saying it to my horse, you know? So the correlation is always very big, and so just that, and so like, good, follow that. Like I want to encourage them, like, follow that intuition. And then I might put them next to two horses. The two horses are having two, like maybe they narrow it down to two, and I might have them lead those two horses or approach those two horses. And those two nervous systems are going to give completely different feedback to their nervous system. And so if I have them maybe halter a horse and lead those two horses and just track how they're holding the leader up, what happens in their arm, how do their feet move, how does the horse move next to them? And I'll say, which one made you feel the most safe? This one. Why? Because when I pulled on the rope, he came with me, or he didn't step on my feet, or I didn't feel like my toes were scrunched up in my boots, or he didn't pull me to the grass. Like, you can feel out and understand what makes people feel listened to, seen, safe. And then I might say, if you had to choose between the two horses, which one would you choose to lead next week? And you would be... It is always shocking to me. Usually, a lot of people will choose the safe one, but if there is any past of abuse, or somebody that is used to a high amount of stress, or they love overcoming obstacles, or they're just maybe they're rescuers and they just want to save all the horses and make everyone love them, they're going to choose the one that made them feel unsafe.
Wow.
Because they want to somehow repair this relationship, right? And
It's
so
feeding something inside of them that,
yes.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So those two exercises would be very common for us to do, and you can then build a lot off of either one of those.
Yeah, you can, from a therapy perspective, I was thinking, like, which is the right choice? Do you choose the safe horse or the unsafe horse?
There's just
no
is.
wrong choice.
I figured you would say that.
Yeah.
And why is there no wrong choices?
Because I think everybody's wired differently, and we're here to support that system. I might ask questions around it, like, okay, that horse I've had people that feed carrots, and they literally shoved their hand inside of the horse's mouth, and they're like, he's biting me. And I'm like, well, pull your hand out. I mean, horses don't just typically bite to bite. If you shove your hand up the mouth with the carrot, and
they're trying to eat a carrot, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you can actually pull your hand out. Like you can pull your hand out, and they're just staring at their hand, and then they say, well, I don't want to offend him. And I'm like,
oh no. Okay.
no,
that
your
tells you a
hand
lot.
is in their mouth, right?
Yeah, right.
And then you tell me that you want to work with that horse again. And so we can have very rich conversation around that of like, how is this showing up? Is this the type of relationship that you want? Like, what are you craving in relationships? What are you adding? Like, what are you bringing to the table? What are you asking and requesting? What are the boundaries that you have? I mean, there's a lot of, and also, if I say to somebody that's military or police or first responder, right? These people that charge into danger, who are usually very naturally attracted to the very big horses that we have on the farm. Well, we want people like that. So maybe they don't feel safe, but they want to do whatever they can to settle their own system in the face of this very large horse. And I want them to keep that personality. So how do we take what their natural, how do we ferret out the trauma from the drive? right? Not everybody's born to rage into buildings that full of fire. We want to keep that, right? So but we also don't want that system to take on so much that it's shutting down. It's taking on the pain of everybody else around them. So, it's okay. Like, we do unsafe things. Like, you can actually, if you're really safe in your own system, then you can do unsafe things. It's actually really rewarding to like challenge that system, right? And then be able to come back to safety. That's the most healthy system you can have, is I can go out there, I can press, I can do things that feel really scary and grow, but then I have this huge anchor of, I know I can tend to myself and I'm very, very safe in my own system. Whereas somebody that is not safe in their own system, we want to get them to the place of anchoring in that sense of safety, anchoring in that you can have a safe relationship, that there are safe relationships. This is actually what a safe relationship feels like. You don't have to put up with all that garbage in your life anymore. Like you can actually set boundaries and say, like, this is my expectation and this is the bar for safe relationship. And I want you to lock that down in your body and your intuition and know, like, oh, there's that feeling again. I don't need to give this person any more of my energy. And then they can go out and press a little bit further out towards safety.
It's so fascinating. It's like so different than talk therapy, where you're going to sit down and you're going to tell me what your problems are or
Right.
your issues are, versus like, let's go and have some experiences that will reveal it in real time, for them to have these light bulb moments, these aha, like, oh, this is what's been going on.
Yeah.
Versus just regurgitating a story that they have in their head and that they've probably told other people, or maybe they haven't, but like, it's just so interesting. It's so, very experiential.
Embodied.
And yes. I can
Embodied.
see how, I really want to do it. I've always loved horses since I was a little girl. And I haven't had an opportunity to really be around them in my adult life. So I will definitely be calling you. But I have a question on like this therapy. Is there a specific type of person it's great for, and some people not so much? Who is it for? Who is it not for, in your opinion?
I think it can really be for anyone. I guess the limiting factors would be if you're allergic to horses, if you're allergic to dust, if you're allergic to hay. Those people have a tough time at the farm. Although we have some horse crazy people that are like, I've loaded up on Benadryl, I'm here. If we do, we work with folks that are non-ambulatory or in wheelchairs, and we can maneuver the horse certainly around them, and they can maneuver the horses. We have horses that will walk with wheelchairs, but it just depending on the wheelchair setup, that can get a little bit. We don't have as much space to move.
Sure.
And other than that, I would say, we work with people that are highly dissociative. We work with ALS. We would just work with a huge, wide range of people. And I would say that, the people that maybe have the most difficult time with it are ones that don't want to be outside, and are just really maybe just overly feeling really, really fearful of horses. But even then we have exercises that we do with them that like put them in the control.
I was going to ask you about people that are just afraid of horses, and it's probably really good for them to have to break through that fear, and chances are that's showing up in other areas too.
Yes.
So it's like perfect opportunity.
Yeah. We always honor right where people are, and we can work as far away from the horses as needed, and then they'll bring them in.
Where do you find that fear of horses typically stems from?
It can be for a lot of different reasons, but usually there's been something that's happened on a trail ride that's gone sideways when you were a kid, and the guide didn't save you from the bucking horse, or they've seen somebody get hurt very badly with a horse, and so they come in, and then again, I just honor their image channel and say, wow, like, look at that image that you have in your head and how your body is now having this fear state and how it wants to keep you protected, even right now. Because the brain works that way. The brain says, it comes up, it has stories, it makes a conclusion, and that's what the brain does, right? It's what it's born to do.
Yeah.
So we don't not honor the brain, But then I can have them stay 40 feet back from the horse and have them observe and walk up and stop anytime that their body begins to feel that fear sensation. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm not having actually the same experience with this horse as the one that's in my head.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
You said the word a few minutes ago, embodied.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that? It was in regards to
The experience of this as therapy versus talk therapy. This is more of an embodied experience.
I really feel that for some people, it really works to tell their story and I don't think it is helpful for people to relive their trauma.
in a talk therapy kind of setting.
Yeah. It doesn't do me any good as a therapist to have somebody live the trauma. And so when I'm working with someone, especially if it's been really horrific trauma or they don't remember the trauma. So when I say embodied, I mean like your body's already going to tell me what's going on. You don't have to tell me you don't have to use those words and you don't have to tell me the whole story for me to understand and for me to help you release that trauma out of your body. If you don't want to tell me the story because you've already told 5 other therapists and nobody's been able to help you and you're sick of telling the story, then don't tell me the story. Like give me a little context and then we're going to track what's going on in your body and I'm going to tell you how to release it. And we're going to work with you to do that, right? So I don't feel, when I say it's embodied, I mean like let's understand where it's trapped and held in the body. Let's begin to understand how to discharge it, what the impulse of protection was, and let's understand it from a body perspective and how you imagine it in your head, how you want to tell the story is okay. I'm open to hearing as much as you want or as little as you want, but let's release it because we can say things like we can rationalize trauma up here, and the brain is also highly capable of forgetting trauma. That's why people can go into their adult without remembering things that happened to them. And I always say, if your brain remembers, it's telling me that you're in a place now where you probably are ready to process it. But how cool is it that your brain froze that up there for all these years to protect you? Because what if your heart would have exploded if it would have remembered that? Or your respiration would have gone up so high, or you would have run out or been suicidal. Like, how cool is it your brain is so high functioning, so protective of you that it did that. But now let's work with the body and get the brain and the body connected. Because if you don't understand why all of a sudden you walk outside and you see a person in a purple shirt and your heart starts racing and that's confusing you, then it's already trying to tell you it's an embodied experience. Like it's in your body, but you don't remember. So get it down into the body and process through the body in addition to the story if you want to tell it. But we don't have to do that.
Our brain protects us because it loves us.
Yeah, 100%. It's so cool.
It is.
It's amazing. Like the more trauma I process, I'm like, that is freaking awesome that your brain and your body did that to protect you.
Yeah.
Yes, our bodies are on our side.
Yes.
Even when sometimes it may not feel like that.
100%.
Yeah.
So think back. Name one small choice that you made that you feel like you questioned at the time, but it opened up the biggest opportunity for you.
A small choice? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Just
Or a choice.
meant to. We all come across these like, well, maybe I'll do this or maybe I'll do that, and we kind of go back and forth. But later on, it reveals like, wow, what a huge opportunity that turned out to be.
Okay. I went through a terrible breakup. My wedding was called off in 2010.
Sounds like a big choice, but let's dive into this. Okay. Wow.
And I got the opportunity to go to Italy with my graduate advisor and work at a college over there on a brainstorming of team building and leadership at the executive level for a week. And they offered me a job at the end of that week. And my job was going to be studying mindfulness and leadership. And that was right after the university had canceled our program. I was basically a year into trying to revitalize the program. And I say that it was a choice because like I really had to, I was so committed to Hunkapi. Obviously, I just decided like this was the only thing my soul wanted to do. I had to like take the beating from the university and start something all over again. And so I was in the trenches of trying to get Hunkapi launched again. And here was this opportunity. My heart was completely broken. I was completely shut down. My whole future was like different now. I didn't have a home. I didn't know what I just didn't know what to do. I was literally, it came out of the blue. So I was just down on my knees, like literally flattened me, this breakup. And so when they offered me the job, I was like, I can't do that to Hunkapi. I can't, how am I supposed to take care of my dogs, those horses? How am I supposed to take 3 months off and move to Italy? Can't do it. Like my sense of responsibility and obligation was like stepping in. But I was really too heartbroken to work and to put the energy into Hunkapi that I needed to because I just was broken. And so I gave Hunkapi to a person that was going to work like 3 hours a day and moved to Italy.
And just take care of the animals, basically?
They were going to take care of the animals and run very minimal programs. Like at that point I had, I think, 2 employees. And so it was so scary for me to do that, to think that I was leaving this thing that I was supposed to be setting up, had no money, to go just grieve and heal and study and create. And so I ended up staying there for 2 years. And
the business here was just on just kind of hiatus, or just like on just autopilot.
5 horses, a few groups, doing the bare minimum to basically keep alive. And I would, call in a few times a week and talk to them. But I really gave myself the time over there to truly heal and to really practice, understand mindfulness, understand emotions. That's where all my work with emotional management, emotional identification came from. And then the program was at a point where it just wasn't getting tended to, and I had to look at myself in the face and say, like, are you ready to let it go? And again, the answer was no. And so I came back at that point. But I was a totally different person, and I was healed. And I said, if I'm coming back, like, it's going to the top. Like, I'm bringing everything.
2012-ish?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was the rebirth, probably.
Yep, 100% rebirth. And we,
rocket ship.
Yeah. It was either going to die or I was coming back, and it was going to change faces. And that's where mindfulness got infused to it. And then shortly after that, I started all my somatics training. And it's become a total, it went from like a therapeutic writing, work with children with autism, which is incredible, recreational type of program, to now we're getting into the heart, the soul, the emotion of people and the horses.
How many clients do you work with a year?
Last year we did over 17,000 sessions.
Wow.
Amazing. Right here in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How can people find
how can they follow you?
How can they follow you?
So we are on Instagram at Hunkapi Programs, Facebook the same.
But spell that. I think people are going to need some help.
Hunkapi Programs.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what does Hunkapi, what does that mean?
It means we are all related.
Oh, that's beautiful.
In what language?
Lakota.
Lakota, Indian? Yeah.
So for me, it
related.
means aloha or om. It's that
wow.
in the Lakota language. We're all related. We all need one another.
That's beautiful. One of our favorite questions to ask before we wrap up is, if you could title a book based on your life experience thus far, what would the title be?
Oh, wow. That's
I know.
an incredible question, but wow.
We don't want you to have too much time to think about it. That's why we ask like that.
Ride of her life.
Oh God! See,
that's
the
good.
best ones just come up when people don't overthink it, and like it's just like just say the first thing that comes, and that is so amazing. I hope someday you do write a book. I know this
Someday,
word
when
is
I have
incredible.
time, I will. Yes,
Yes,
I
right.
think about it. Yeah. Yeah.
I know you have a lot more.
Either that
lot
or
going
hold on tight.
Maybe that's the subtitle.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, Monk thinks that the podcast is over.
Yeah,
so.
he's getting that kind of body
Oh,
language from us.
look at that. Oh, I love that stretch.
There he goes. I could talk to you for days, I feel like. You're such a fascinating and beautiful human. Thank you for what you do for humanity. And thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank
Really.
you. It's been a pleasure. Always good to share the story.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
That's a wrap. That was
Yeah.
excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
So beautiful.